Can you solo Fire Emblem Path of Radiance with only Brom? I think that's a question that no one has ever asked, let alone thought of, until now. I'm going to be attempting to solo the entirety of Path of Radiance with just Brom. The inspiration for this run was my monstrous Braum during the Fire Emblem Path of Radiance co-op stream series with Jay and Speedy, where he was going on a tear until his tragic super unlucky death. Which, if you want to see the details on that, check the links in the description below and come to the streams every Friday, 7 p.m. EST. We're still in the middle of the run and going as of this video coming out. Come by tonight! Of course, like with all my videos, timestamps will be available to everything in case you want to jump around, and if you like what I do, throw me a like, subscribe, leave me a comment letting me know what you think. And naturally, this run would not have at all been possible without Sladhued, which I need to give a big shout out for. Initially when I had the idea to do this run, I literally typed in Path of Radiance hack into Google, and the reverse recruitment run that Sladhued made popped up. I didn't see anything else, so I reached out, and here we are. So special thanks, and if anyone is interested in Slad's work, definitely check out the reverse recruitment for Path of Radiance if you like this kind of stuff. Again, links in the description below. Now, on to the run. And the first thing I'll talk about is Brom himself, while some of the early footage is playing in the background. We swapped Brom and Ike to allow for this run to be a true solo from start to finish, as well as removing all of the force-deployed units. We've also scaled him back all the way to level 1 and back-calculated his bases from his growths. This starts Brom out with a pretty measly 23 HP, 7 strength, 0 magic, 6 skill, 5 speed, 3 luck, 9 defense, and 0 res. So immediately from the start, you can see here that outside of that fantastic defense, every single one of his stats are just around or below average for a starting level 1 unit in this game. His growths have been kept the same, and he has 75% HP, 45% strength, 20% magic, 50% skill, 25% speed, 10% luck, 55 defense, and 25% res. Again, none of these are anything crazy, and his only strong growths are the HP and defense, which is par for the course for a knight. The prologue is actually kind of funny, since if RNG isn't kind, it is mathematically possible to die to Boyd, while Grail can't even really touch us. Brom opens up with a massive level up after this tutorial, getting strength, speed, defense, and res. Everything aside from the res is kind of essential in the early game, and with that low speed growth, we're gonna need some real RNG to make things happen. Chapter 1 ends up being our first interesting chapter, quote unquote, because, well, I'm a lance unit in a map dominated by axe users. It's interesting not to be able to utilize the weapon triangle that is tailored to a sword-using lord, but the nice thing about Brom is that he has just high enough strength and speed to basically double everything here. Obviously, with 5 move, he will be more hindered than any other unit class type, and especially so with trying to compete for that Seraph robe in that house. Brom has an excellent HP growth, so it's not anything completely detrimental, but it is very helpful in the early game for survivability, especially since his base is pretty low with him being at 23. Luckily, I'm pretty easily able to get it though, as that bandit seems programmed to attack instead of target the house, and that's pretty much that for this one. Brom ends off the chapter already at level 5 with 25 HP, 9 strength, 7 skill, 7 speed, 4 luck, 13 defense, and 1 res. Very blessed in the speed departments with 2 out of 4 levels in that stat, and perfect in the defense department with 4 for 4. Chapter 2 is also kind of funny because it has another very important drop, the speed wings. But these are guaranteed from the boss, so this chapter is just kill everything. With the early defense levels, we take pretty much no damage, and Brom has been getting through these chapters pretty easily with no healing. Who said this character was bottom tier again? Having said that, he only gained 1 more defense level by level 8 at the end of this chapter, with 1 more level in speed. I used the Seraph robe and the speed wings on him, and he's really not having much trouble whatsoever. So based off of that, I feel like we can pretty much get an idea of how the early chapters are going to go in terms of the early game. And so with the highlights of the next few chapters playing in the background, I'll talk a bit about solo runs in general. Fire Emblem overall tends to be pretty easy to juggernaut, with the early game being the hardest part while you get that unit off the ground and rolling. Path of Radiance seems like it'll be a bit easier with the early Seraph robe and speed wings that you get access to, and with the high defense and heavy focus on melee units in this game, I think any unit that can get good defense levels will probably have no issue. And this is without even talking about skills. The early game here, at least in my experience, feels like no exception. If anything, the main roadblock that I'm concerned about is weapon usage. I started Braum out in this run with 4 Iron Lances, as you've probably seen so far, and the logic behind that was that if I'm not getting Oscar's Iron Lance or Gatry's Iron and Steel Lances because of removing force-deployed units, I might as well give him these to start with. Between that and the lack of shops, it's gonna be tight, and if I didn't give him any extra weapons, the run would legitimately be impossible. Chapter 4 gives us our first of 2 lances we can get prior to shop availability, and it's a 25-use javelin off the boss. In Chapter 5, I make the very important decision to unequip my weapon and just tank on the tile for the entirety of the defense map, and that's because I feel like I'm okay with the level I'm at here. But I also just kinda need to conserve my weapon uses in this map. Chapter 6 is an easy one where I just lurk in the forest and blitz my way down the left side of the map to bum rush the boss and arrive at the tile. This also gives us the second lance we can get before the shops are available, and it's a 14-use short spear. Lance economy isn't feeling great at this point, but we have one more chapter to go and 65 total weapon uses for the entire chapter. At this point, Brom is level 17 with promotion not too far away. Defense is capped. Speed is a whopping 14, which if you take out the speed wing has us 3 whole points ahead of average, which has been absolutely huge in this run to finish things off quickly. But the real shocker is actually his strength, which is a whole 5 points ahead of average. And so enter Chapter 7. This is probably the longest chapter so far, and it has actual mages, including the boss, which our whole 3 res is going to struggle with just a little bit. Mia also shows up on this chapter, who I recruit for the fun of it, but it has no impact on the chapter or the run. Otherwise, it does just end up being the Brom show all the way until the end of the chapter, but the big highlight here is that this is the chapter where Brom promotes. I think in every other Path of Radiance solo run, just because of the way the experience works in promoting at level 21, this will probably be that breakpoint for the vast majority of units. And so for me, we now have a general Brom with some insane stats that far outpace the majority of the game. 23 strength with 17 speed and 21 defense is a force that I don't think many enemies are going to be able to contend with for quite a while. A little fun fact though, with his promotion, Brom actually gets his Radiant Dawn art featured here, and it'll be there in the status screen too. Nice little touch addition to this little modification of the Brom. Brom also now has sword access, which I don't know how important that'll be now that I have the shop and swords are weaker with no 1-2 range for a long time, but it's something and I'll invest in it for fun. Now, I normally hate just skipping ahead, and it makes these runs feel kind of cheap, like am I hiding something, or what did I skip, or is there any manipulation? But honestly, from Chapter 8 to Chapter 12, it really was just a straight-up one-shot Brom stomp all the way through. So I'll talk about the important or funny things, I guess. Chapter 8 was kind of similar to Chapter 5, where I just stood on the tile and waited for the enemies to all suicide on me. I recruited Ilyana for the fun of it, but otherwise I just defended the point. Chapter 9 sucked because I wasn't able to beat the Brigand to the Talisman House, which is actually really important for Brom, so I lost a valuable resource here. Once again, I did recruit Marcia just for the fun of it, and because she charges up to you and talks to you against your will, which is fine. Chapter 11 had a Draco Shield, which, I mean, on any other unit would be huge, but this is Brom. He's got mega defense already. So I didn't even bother picking it up in favor of the Killer Lance, and I cleared the chapter. I did want to fight the Black Knight for a round for you guys here, but I was like literally 1 point in defense and 2 points in HP off of surviving a round against him. So I couldn't do it, and I ran away. I know, such a coward. Maybe that Draco Shield wouldn't have been such a bad idea. Who knows? Chapter 12 was just stat boosters galore, but the only one I can make use of is the Secret Book. He ends that group of chapters at level 10 with 26 strength, 19 speed, 25 defense, which is really only 2 speed level ups over the last 9 levels. Definitely slowing back down to what his average rate is, but still maintaining at 3 points above average at his level if you take away the speed wings I gave him. The strength is obviously still monstrously ahead, with him being 2 behind in luck and resistance. This is somehow an unlucky but lucky Brom at the same time, and I don't really know how to feel about that. Chapter 13 is actually a pivotal chapter, Or so I thought. There are a few reasons for this. One of the reasons is the Night Ward that comes with Astrid. This is a flat +2 defense and res 1 equipped on knights, soldiers, and cavaliers and their promotions, but the most defining fact is the fact that it gives an additional 30% speed growth. Getting it, on the other hand, is going to be a problem, and so in the spirit of the difficulty of how hard it is to get this in a run like this, I decided I would allow it if I'm able to actually recruit Astrid. The reason being is I need to protect that middle space on the boat alone, with no other units, but also recruit Astrid while not having her die at all. Those are 3 different objectives. Let's tackle the last objective first, having Astrid survive. Because of the stat variability in Path of Radiance, in 50% of scenarios on this map, she will die in the first turn no matter what, since she gets doubled and killed by a Myrmidon. For the only time in this run, I allow myself to reset to guarantee that the enemy Myrmidon there is not able to double her, just to give me a chance. This doesn't mean she's guaranteed to survive the first turn, but that, again, she has a chance. The second situation is protecting the space in the boat. Now, I have never seen the enemies seize the point on turn 1. I was literally flabbergasted. I'm going to put the footage of it while I'm talking about this, but it is crazy to me that it's just possible for you to instantly game over on turn 1. That shook me, I will not lie. So naturally, I had to reset. And then on the reset after that, I managed to get there before the enemy did. But now the problem is trying to get Astrid. She, both fortunately and unfortunately, plays like all the other green units. She'll attack, she'll canto away, and she'll have, the bane of my existence, healing AI, which means that while I'm protecting this stupid point on the boat, she's running around all over the place trying to heal herself and kill other units. After like 3 or 4 attempts of trying to figure this out, I finally get a run where Astrid survives. I recruit her, I get the Night Ward off her, but I push my luck to try and go after those speed wings on the far side of the boat at the top. Now, as I'm doing that, I forget that on turn 8, all the enemies instantly aggro. So they killed Astrid, which isn't that big of a consequence, I don't really care about that, but they then reach the defense point and I get a game over, which is crushing. So naturally, like any other gamer would do, who finally accomplished all the goals that were set out for the chapter, and because of a bit of greed failed, I ran it back. And immediately, out of spite, I executed the exact same game plan to a T, and this time, as soon as I got the ward, I just parked it on the space, and I let the chapter finish itself out. I was like, I'm getting a 30% speed boost, I don't need those speed wings, it's only 4 or 5 more levels. I think it was 4 at that point, because I had 20 speed. But yeah, that was more difficult than it needed to be, and if I'm being honest, in the long run, this Night Ward probably won't even matter that much, as Brom had 20 speed already prior to even getting it. So there was a decent enough chance that he would have ended up with at least like 22 or 23 speed, which is only 1 or 2 off of the max. And there's another speed wing in the very final chapter, which is the only place that it really comes into play. So after that little bit of excitement that was chapter 13, we resume the regularly scheduled programming of stomping our way through every chapter. We pick up Vantage in chapter 14, and grab the very important boots in chapter 15, as well as the Draco Shield, Full Guard, and Shera icon in chapter 16, to make our unlucky Brom ever so slightly luckier. I killed Makalov, spared Devdon, and now it's time to save Leanne. It's time for Daybreaks. If there was one singular chapter from the beginning of the run where I was worried about weapon usage, it was Daybreaks. A chapter with 4 parts, a lot of enemies, and the latter 2 parts with my skill and speed halved? Yeah, not a huge fan. But on the plus side, by now my Braum is incredibly overpowered with 27 strength, 26 skill, 23 speed, max defense, and a little sprinkle of 9 resistance. With the Night Ward on top of that, we add 2 more to both defenses. From a survival standpoint, I'm not too worried as the enemies haven't really caught up yet to my stats. And at this point, I honestly don't know if they ever will. But will I have enough weapons to clear the chapter? Let's see. Part 1 is a route map, and that gets done pretty easily. Part 2 is an arrive, and I'm able to get there with very few weapons used. For Part 3, since it's a survive map, I actually just run to a small nook in the north of the map and I unequip my weapons, just a little bit of a flashback to chapters 5 and 8. All the melee and physical damage units run in before the mages, so that ends up being pretty simple. Hilariously, while I'm face tanking everything, Brom hits level 17 and caps his speed. So we're not getting any faster than this for the rest of the run. And part 4? Well, all I had to do was kind of rush down to the southern part of the map and Tabarn charges in to slaughter everything, but I'd still kind of like to get the Adept Scroll if I can, just in case. But I figured I'd do you one better and I end up killing Oliver with Brom since even with Leanne rescued, somehow I can double him. Chapter 18 was another quick stomp. I bring a chest key to grab the Wrath Scroll, which will end up becoming supremely important later on in the run, as you will see. But Chapter 19 is one I had more trouble than I expected with. Don't get me wrong, it is such an easy chapter, and Brom can straight up walk to the boss and annihilate him in one round. But there's a little flyer over here called Naysala that kind of throws a wrench in things ever so slightly. You see, I also kind of misplayed by not equipping a javelin initially, and then my path to the boss got blocked by a healer. Because of that, I had to deal with Naysala for 2 turns, and because this Brom is just a little bit unlucky, Naysala actually has a pretty decent crit rate, and with him doing magic damage with Vortex, he took me completely off guard and destroyed me with a crit. So now I'm in this awkward situation where Brom has 5 HP left. I can't attack the boss since he has a magic weapon that would KO me in return unless I dodge, and I can't exactly outrun Naysala either, so it's checkmate. Not a chapter I expected to be running back, but here we are. So this time I do equip my javelin, I take a bit more care walking up to the boss, and I march straight on up there and I kill him without bothering Naysala at all. After that, I feel like this is a little bit of a deja vu, but we return to our regularly scheduled programming of destroying this run for a few chapters. Chapter 20 is notable in that this is where Brom caps his level. The final stat line here is 57 HP, 29 strength, 8 magic, 27 skill, 24 speed, 10 luck, 30 defense, and 10 res. In terms of stat boosters, he's gotten 5. A singular Seraph Robe, Secret Book, Speedwing, Draco Shield, and a Shera icon. And the Draco Shield didn't really matter there, I just used it to speed up his defense. In terms of averages, this means that we are above average by 3 in HP, 2 in strength, 2 in magic, skill by half a point, speed by a whopping 8 points. We are average in luck and defense, and below average in res by 2 points. And speaking of below average in res, Chapter 21 brings with it a very much needed talisman that, now that I'm writing the script actually, I realize I never used it. And the reason for that is that the run kind of got away from me. Chapter 21, clear. Chapter 22, clear. Chapter 23, annoying because of the traps, but clear. Chapter 24, long because of all the green unit actions, but clear. All the way until we hit Chapter 25. Chapter 25 is the Eat Rock chapter. It's known by its meme status in the community, but for me, it poses another problem. The terrain in this chapter slows down Brom's movement to 4 tiles. And the boss? Well, the boss is a wyvern, so he has 9 movement and canto, but he also has 18 magic, and a magic weapon which targets my already low resistance. And to make matters worse, I forgot to buy pure water for this chapter, which I've been utilizing successfully until now. Grommel also has one additional issue. You see, he's got lower speed, which means I double him, but he also has Resolve, which is a bit of a nemesis for Brom if you've kept up with our Path of Radiance stream run. Just a reminder, link in the description below. So yeah, Resolve. It's going to increase his speed to an annoying range where I no longer double him, and since he's so tanky, I don't think I'll easily be able to one-shot. So the run goes pretty easy in the first attempt. I work my way up the left-hand side and kill the enemies, but I accidentally get into range of not only the boss, but the Purge Tome Bishop at the same time. Luckily, he missed. But because of the accident, I don't have a ranged weapon equipped, and I kind of flounder around a little bit, killing the other enemies, but ultimately, even though I'm able to juggle him around and get the javelin equipped, it's not enough. I can't out-heal the damage, and I go down. Game over, number 1. For attempt number 2, I remember that I have a Sonic Sword from Tanith. So I steal that, thinking that wind damage is effective against flyers, so maybe I'll give that a shot and see how it does. I bring a javelin for the other enemies and send it, same way up the left-hand side. But once I get into the boss range, I bait him with it and the first hit misses. I think, okay, no big deal. He's not in resolve range. I'll just kill him on player phase with the fat silver lance I brought with me. 21 times 2 with an 87% chance to hit. I'm feeling pretty good about this. So I land the first hit, score, then he procs resolve, hits me back, and the turn ends. No follow-up. I had done a little bit of testing on the side with resolve prior to this run previously, and it didn't apply mid-battle, at least not in the Switch 2 Path of Radiance. So maybe it was updated there versus here. I don't know. Is there anyone else who's more familiar with mechanics than I am that can tell me about this? Because this one was a little bit weird and baffling for me, but I'm not going to complain. It's no big deal. I'm still alive. We can just run it back and try again in this very same map. But the boss retreats. I kill a few more enemies, and I get hit by a rock because of positioning, so I have 28 HP. I heal back up to 38 with a vulnerary and park it to tank the boss again, round 2. He runs up to me, hits me, and I land both Sonic Swords hits, which is massive. On player phase, I finish him off with a Silver Lance. Success, right? Well, wrong. Remember that talisman I've been forgetting to use? Well, I had 12 HP left, and that bishop with perch had been hitting me for 13 damage all chapter. If I'd had 2 more res, or even better, a pure water, I'd have easily survived, but unfortunately, I actually get hit by purge here and I go down. Game over, number 2 this chapter. Now I'm annoyed, and this time I decide not to play around with gimmicks anymore. We're just gonna brute force this thing. So I've got a stash of spears in the convoy and the strength to use it more than the Sonic Sword, so I pull that out and rush up the left-hand side for the 3rd time. I get in Grommel's range, I chunk him down with the spear, and I finish him off with the Silver Lance with very little damage taken. 1, 2, 3. Simple as that. He's out. After that, I finally sweep this godforsaken map, but if you thought that was the end of the struggles, you'd be mistaken, because the game is about to catch up to us. Chapter 26 is Clash. And Clash on its own is usually not a very difficult or particularly infamous chapter. But this chapter has a lot of enemies, and these enemies are quite bulky. In addition to that, there are also a bunch of mages with siege tomes and healing, as well as priests with staves as well. In my first attempt, I took some silver weapons, a steel lance, a javelin, and I tried to semi-rush the boss. But I kinda got distracted. I wanted to get up to that priest at the north side of the map, and eventually I just get mobbed by all of these ranged units, and I ran out of weapons before I get to the boss. There are just so many enemies on this map, and I could not kill them quickly enough. So I had to restart. Attempt number 2 was different. This time I decided to bring another javelin and take some more time to try and kill everything before I got to the boss. That didn't work either. And honestly, I completely forgot to record that run, as well as the majority of my 3rd run, for my shame. I mean, it had to happen once in this run, right? We couldn't have flawlessly gotten all of the footage. But that 3rd run, just to keep it short, I decided to completely forget about all of the enemies and just go straight for Bertram. But most importantly, I finally decided to give Braum a skill, Wrath. Now, with rushing him down, I did manage to get there before the reinforcements spawned near him, and I attacked him for 20 damage. But he walloped me for like 22 in return and healed all of the damage I did because apparently he has a rune sword. So I was just completely stupid. But I'm actually now in Wrath range, and on enemy phase, Bertram attacks me back, and I annihilate him with a crit. Huge stroke of luck. But, like I said, this Braum is unluckily lucky, and so the unluckiness has to come out of the shadows just a little bit, and there's that bishop with his sleep staff, and he puts Braum to sleep. I'm literally so close. I'm 3 attempts in. This is a long chapter. I'm standing right in front of the seize tile, and now I have to sleep for 5 turns, survive with 9 HP, and pray that I don't get killed. And I'm just sitting here, and I know that those 3 sages with their siege tomes are about to spawn right in front of me any turn now. So I wait, and I wait, and I wait, and the entire map surrounds me and is doing 0 damage. But the sages never come. I guess the enemies took their spawn points, and so they weren't able to get into the map, which is very lucky for me, because I wake up from sleep on turn 10, and I finished the map by the skin of my teeth. I'm just beyond annoyed that I don't have the footage to show it until after Bertram was dead, but a win is a win. I still have the save file, just I was contemplating re-recording it, but I wouldn't be able to mimic it. It wouldn't be the same. Chapter 27 comes next, and with this one comes Resolve. I talked about Resolve a little bit earlier in Chapter 25, but this one is going to be pretty important for turning Braum into a killing machine for the final chapter to be able to beat Ashnard. It's in the top left corner in the center chest, so while I try to get up there, I'll talk through one of the final changes made to this hack to make killing Ashnard and by proxy the Black Knight possible. In Path of Radiance, the only thing that can damage the holy armor on Black Knight or Ashnard is Ike's Ragnell, one of the 2 dragons, and the Laguz Royals that you get for Phase 2 Ashnard in the final chapter. So we needed to come up with a solution. Otherwise, the run just ends in the final chapter, and that's no fun. So, well, we decided to give Braum a weapon with identical stats to Ragnell, but a lance. And that can actually damage them. It was a tough call to make, but with both of them having 1-2 range and Ashnard being incredibly strong in Phase 2, I felt like it was probably a fair decision. Otherwise, this fight is just going to be so lopsided and so RNG dependent that I don't think it would be fun running or even trying to attempt. But if you guys feel like this wasn't a fair decision, let me know otherwise. And to be honest, the enemies are still not touching Braum with or without it. It's literally just there to speed things up and fight Ashnard and the Black Knight. So, somehow, I bit off a bit more than I could chew actually with my first run of Chapter 27, even though it isn't that hard, but I got crit by a bolting sage. Again, the unluckiness strikes here. And apparently, I still thought it was a good idea to break open that door to a room with 2 other sages. I'd like to think I was just testing the waters to see if I could survive, and of course I didn't. The run back went far better, and in the interest of just getting to the exciting part, the rest of the chapter ended up being a curb stomp once I got past that little curve of sages. But now, the moment we've all been waiting for is here. Braum versus the Black Knight. Only one Black Knight will come away from this encounter standing. The Braum stick is here, and that is my Ragnell. It has identical stats and does 13 damage to the Black Knight, while him hitting me back for 10 because of my insane defense. It also looks like an axe as a call out to his Radiant Dawn class. It still is a lance though, don't worry. It's going to be a battle of attrition, but I'm down to give it a shot. And then enemy phase happens and he just blasts me with Luna, and all of a sudden I'm down to 18 HP. This is not the position I want to be in. And to make it worse, my Wrath doesn't crit him back, so he's standing there with 40 HP and Renewal, with me on 18 HP and only having Vulneraries. But I figured, what the heck? It's the first time I get to the Black Knight. Let's take a risk here. Let's try it out. So I use a Vulnerary to heal, and I try my hand at one more turn. So I retreated right near the escape tiles, and I healed. Luckily, he actually missed me, and I hit him back. But now the priest comes in and I am completely out of time. I mean, this guy's going to rush down, he's going to heal the Black Knight, and it's over. I either kill him here or I'm going to have to retreat. So I just go for it. A game over wouldn't be the end of the world since I want the clear and would have been fine just restarting the map. So I turned on animations and Braum attacks. He walks up, step by step, and activates Wrath, and bang, the crit goes off and the Black Knight is down. I guess all he needed is for us to activate the animations for him to crit. He really wanted to show off that new crit with his new weapon. This is a pretty good battle. It's probably one of my favorite Black Knight duels that I've done in Path of Radiance. And I'm glad the better Black Knight deservingly won. I know, coming off that, it's pretty hard to follow. And Chapter 28 was honestly really easy. But somehow, just at the end of my first run, I made a stupid mistake at the end and ended turn in bolting range of the boss, and so I got killed after completely dismantling the map with Braum. Even the dragons do pretty little damage, but on the second run, especially with the Braum stick, I just take a little bit more care and it was no consequence. Now, it's time for the final chapter. So before I even did this run, I had taken a look at Ashnard to see if this would even be possible. And I knew that Ashnard was going to be a problem going into this. The rest of the chapter is easy. I mean, nothing is really going to scratch Braum, but he's an issue. I always knew it was going to be a problem. He has 55 total attack, with his monstrous 35 base and 20 might 1-2 range sword. In hard mode, he has 2 phases. Phase 1 Ashnard has 27 speed, so Braum doesn't get doubled, and it shouldn't be an issue if he comes back down to a battle of attrition. But phase 2 might be a problem, since with 60 total attack after he goes berserk and 28 speed, he now doubles me. Against a base Braum, with no Braum stick or Night Ward, that's a guaranteed 1-round kill. With less than 60 HP and if I have Resolve, that might prevent the double, but I'll be enemy phase tanking the entire time and have to heal with elixirs I've been hoarding so far. And if the priest that spawns with him keeps healing, I might not be able to kill him very easily, especially with the 80 HP he has. But my Braum also has Wrath and Resolve, which means that with a crit and a boost in his attack, as well as the speed boost, I can actually double Ashnard if I start the turn in Resolve range. And that lets me also avoid him doubling me. And with the Braum stick and the Night Ward stacked on top of each other, that's 7 extra defense, which means I'm only taking 23 damage from Ashnard in one turn, which goes down to 22 because of the weapon triangle advantage. So I decide to just send it and see how the map goes. Immediately I notice, oops, we actually forgot to take Nasir out of the force deployment here. I guess someone didn't have much faith in me killing the Black Knight in this run, eh? No biggie, it won't really affect anything, because if there's one thing I've noticed about Path of Radiance enemies, they really don't have that much attack, even in the final chapter. The only enemies that really end up damaging Braum are Wyvern Lords, Tigers, and Sages, of course, anything that targets magic. Eventually, I take enough damage to get into Wrath, Resolve range, and clean house. But as I'm fighting Bryce, I realize, oh shit, I forgot to bring my elixirs in the first place. I literally only have 3 vulneraries in my inventory. There's no shot I can clear this, but I'll push on for research purposes and see how far I can take it. Turn 10 ticks around, and Ashnard comes down straight at me. I have 18 HP at this point, and 1 vulnerary, left up against about 140 of Ashnard's HP between both phases, and a ton of damage I'm about to take from him. So I retreat out of range of the dragons, but just enough for Ashnard to hit me, and I wait in the bushes. Ashnard phase 1 hits me for around 16 damage. I think that extra defense from the bush, as well as the weapon triangle advantage, reduced it from the 18 I was projected to take down to 16. But then Braum immediately says, hell nah, and he Wrath resolves him into the next galaxy. 1 shot, 60 damage done, phase 1 down. It's hilarious, I did not expect that. But at least now I can check damage against phase 2, because there's no shot. I mean, I've got 12 HP, there's no way this is gonna happen. Nasir steps in and he's like, do you want reinforcements? And I say, no, this is a solo run. And he says, are you crazy? Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, that made me chuckle a little bit. But brother, I'm soloing the game with Braum. Of course I'm crazy. Anyways, back to the action. I decided to just check damage against Ashnard. And I see I do 27 times 2. So doing the math in my head real quick, I've got Wrath active, and 27 times 3 is 81 damage. That's 1-shot range if I crit. I only have 1 shot. I have to crit him immediately on player phase. If I wait, I die in retaliation. But screw it. If I'm gonna lose anyways, I might as well go down swinging, right? So I turned on the animations, and I sent it. What an ending! I couldn't believe it. 3 vulneraries. 3. I don't think even on a normal run, anyone uses only 3 vulneraries for the final chapter. But Braum proved that he is the strongest. He is above and beyond any normal unit, and he has ascended to a higher plane. He never let me down, and he took this run as far as it could possibly go. All hail King Braum. If you don't want to like this video for me, like it for Braum. If you don't want to subscribe for me, subscribe for Braum. But definitely leave a comment for me letting me know what you thought of this run, because I was so excited to share this with you all. I want to take a minute to reflect on this run, because this is the first time I've done anything close to a solo of a Fire Emblem game, so I don't know how they operate, but this one felt a lot easier and a lot less cumbersome than I thought it would be. Maybe some of you guys who have experience with this can enlighten me on it. The run needed absolutely zero AI manipulation, no level up or stat game RNG manipulation, though I did get very lucky with my speed level ups, I will say that. I didn't need to use any forged weapons or bonus EXP or anything like that either. And I got through it with minimal stat boosters, and I didn't use any skills up until chapter 26. And I think I probably could have pushed that a little bit further, maybe up until the Black Knight if I really tried. Part of me wonders if this was specifically because of Brom's high defense. But at the same time, any other unit will be faster than Brom and never get doubled either, so I'm not really sure. Mages might struggle a bit with a run like this because of their lower base defense and lower cap defense, but I think it's possible with other units in this game, especially with such a broken combo like Wrath and Resolve, or Wrath and Vantage up until you get Resolve. Solos usually seem like an insurmountable task at the start, but this one really wasn't that difficult because of the nature of Fire Emblem, I think. But like I said, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on it, whether you think it's Path of Radiance specifically or Braum specifically, but let me know. Educate me on this new world that I only just ventured into. But that's all from me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this run and enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed playing it, and I will be back with the weekly recaps next week. I'll see you guys all in another video very soon. Peace.